Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a little bit of a look at a new Talonflame card. Talonflame, we've had some good Talonflame. Nobody has yet been able to beat the Talonflame that came around in Steam Siege. Could this be the one? Well, I should mention that our translation comes from the lovely Antoine Boulet and the lovely Joe from Cerebi.net. And starting off with the basics, we've got 140 HP. Which sounds like a lot, but actually it's not, because you're a stage 2 Pokemon. I mean, alright, Greninja's a bit rubbish and generally has a bit less than this. You know, the one in Breakpoint only had 130, but that was a while ago, and the one in Detective Pikachu had 140. I suppose it is more than the one in Steam Siege, but we expect more than this. Retreat cost of 1 is nice because of the whole U-turn board thing, so there's a bonus. Weakness to lightning. The problem is we've got Electro Power, and Electro Power means that any lightning Pokemon can do an extra 30, so any lightning Pokemon that does a natural 40 damage can use an Electro Power and do 70 and get a KO here. Okay. But then again, most of the ones that are seeing play, we're looking at stuff like Pikachu and Zekrom that does 150 anyway, or Tapu Koko V that does 200 anyway, so I don't think we need to worry all that much. Resistance to fighting isn't terribly relevant, if I'm honest with you, but you know, still nice to have a resistance. Could be worse. And you're a fire Pokemon. And being a fire Pokemon is just awesome. It means Welder to accelerate extra energy. It means Heat Factory Prism Star to draw yourself some extra cards, and a million things like Fire Crystal or Fiery Flint to go and get your energy out in the first place. So, yeah. Oh, I should also mention you are hitting weakness against Zacian V, so in your face, Zacian. But what does it actually do? Well, it's got a really rather nice ability. The ability says that if this Pokemon is active and is damaged by one of your opponent's Pokemon's attacks, the defending Pokemon, or I suppose the attacking Pokemon, is now burned. Oh yes. It's Burning Scarf. The ability is very literally Burning Scarf, but as an ability rather than a Pokemon tool. If you're active and you get damaged, boom, burn. That's kinda cool. And I've got some ideas for this one, ladies and gentlemen. I've got some ideas. Now, it upsets me that Poison Barb has rotated, because what would be really, really cool with this is to whack a Poison Barb onto Talonflame, and then if your opponent attacks, then they're actually then poisoned and burned. And it's just something that really amuses me about putting 2 special conditions on when your opponent attacks you. We do still have Ear-Ringing Bell at the moment, which would leave your opponent confused and burned when they attack. But it doesn't do any damage, unless you have Parasect out, in which case they take 20 damage between turns for being confused. Of course, you could always take the mick and play something like an Alolan Grimer here, so your opponent attacks you, they're now burned and confused, and if they flip tails for burn, they've taken 20 damage, they're confused, and oh yeah, Alolan Grimer's now coming in and hitting 120 damage. That could be an awful lot of fun. But the built-in Burning Scarf is awesome. The built-in Burning Scarf means that every time they attack you, they take 20 damage. And they will take 20 damage. Best case scenario for your opponent, they attack you, they get burned, they take 20 damage, they flip a heads, they're no longer burned. Jobs are good. And that is a best case scenario for them. They are taking 20 damage. Of course, best case scenario for you, they flip tails, they're then taking 20 damage again after your turn. And this adds up very, very quickly. And we do have some good tricks for burn. Like, for instance, Well of Volcano Park. Well of Volcano Park is a lovely stadium card that says if you flip heads for burn, you don't actually flip heads for burn, you're still burned. So this guarantees that your opponent, assuming they don't get rid of the stadium, obviously, is going to remain burned. They are just going to keep being burned, and that's kind of fantastic. I am a fan. And then, of course, we've got Infernape. Now, the sad news is that Infernape and Well of Volcano Park, for what it's worth, will be rotating fairly shortly after this comes out, but not immediately. So bear with me here. The Fire Infernape from Ultra Prism has got an ability whereby you put 6 damage counters on your opponent's burned Pokemon between turns, rather than 2. Now, I know what you're thinking at this stage. Come on, Wassy. 2 Stage 2 Pokemon? How are you going to reliably get 2 Stage 2 Fire Pokemon out? I think you're getting a bit unrealistic. Well, might I reintroduce you to my boy, Chandeleur. You see, ladies and gentlemen, Chandeleur is kind of awesome. And by kind of, I mean ridiculously. Chandeleur's got an attack for a single fire energy that lets you discard the top 5 cards of your deck. You do 10 damage base, plus 60 for each Pokemon discarded, but any fire Pokemon you discarded this way go on to your bench. So if you attack with Chandeleur and hit Talonflame, Talonflame goes straight to your bench. If you attack with Chandeleur and you hit Infernape, Infernape goes straight onto your bench. Oh, look how that worked out. That worked out pretty gosh darned well. Now you've got your 2 Stage 2s out, and when your opponent attacks, they get burned and they take 6 damage counters, and there's nothing to stop you playing something like Burning Scarf, so you can do this with Chandeleur. But then again, at that stage, we're taking Talonflame completely out the equation, and the entire point of this video is it's looking at what Talonflame does and how we can use it, so I think taking Talonflame out the equation kind of defeats the point of the video I'm currently making. And the good news is that Chandeleur's actually getting way better. We've already got Duskstone, we've had it for a little while, that lets you evolve your Lampent into a Chandeleur, even if it's the turn you played it. But we are now getting the new Lampent in Rebel Clash, that if you draw it as your card for the turn, you get to play it directly onto the bench. You don't have to wait a turn. So now, if you draw Lampent for the turn, you bench it immediately, play a Duskstone, and oh yeah, there's your Chandeleur going in 1 turn. That's kind of nuts redonk, ladies and gentlemen. And then you get your Talonflame and your Infernape out, and now you're looking pretty good. This is awkward, but in a Chandeleur deck, it could legitimately work. Having said that, if we're going to leave our Talonflame in the active so that our opponent has to attack into it, we are going to need an attack to use. And the good news is we have an attack. 1 fire, 2 colorless energy, 120 damage. The defending Pokemon cannot retreat during your next turn. And very simply, ladies and gentlemen, this is a 2-hit KOing attack. But as I've said many times before, if you cannot get a 1-hit KO, get a 2-hit KO with Disruption. And that's your goal here. Your goal is to get a 2-hit KO with Disruption. So do it. Hit them for 120. They can't retreat. They attack into Talonflame. Oh no, they're burned. Take a bunch of damage from burn. Then you attack again and they're gone. And yes, I know that your opponent can play a bunch of switching cards. But an awful lot of people at the moment are playing stuff like Air Balloon or a Skateboard to give themselves free retreat. That is a thing that is happening more and more. Which means unless they draw into something like a switch, and even if they play a bunch of switch, there's no guarantee they're going to have it the turn they need it, then they're forced to attack into you. And 140 HP might be low for a stage 2, but it's still a decent amount of HP. And then they're getting burned, and you're 2-hit KOing, remembering you only give up 1 prize, and then hopefully you've got Chandeleur for all your other tricks as well. Bearing in mind, if you can get Talonflame and Infernape out, they attack into you, take 6 damage counters, you then do 120, and then they take another 6 damage counters. That's actually 240 damage. That's everything Pikachu and Zekrom below. So you can actually, if your opponent attacks into Talonflame first, you can legit get some 1-hit KOs here on Pokemon, in fact every Pokemon V, and some of the weaker tag team GXs as well. This is fun. And in terms of energy, right, you've got Welder and you've got Twin Energy. So either you attach an energy one turn and then Twin Energy the next, or you Welder and attach an energy, or you Welder for 1 and attach a Twin Energy. Either way, the energy is eminently payable. The fact that it's a stage 2 is awkward, I'll give you that. But this seems like the kind of thing which can work really, really nicely in a Chandeleur deck. And maybe outside of a Chandeleur deck it's not good enough, but okay, play it in a Chandeleur deck. It could still make a very good rogue deck as well. Either way, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a little bit excited, and I'd like to know how excited you are. I'd like to know what you think. I'd like you to go nuts in the comment section, and I'd like you to be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where you can find out about a whole bunch of games that don't have Pokemon in, but are pretty gosh darned awesome nonetheless. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.